Electrocast.
Why wait to see if you'll get something you like this Valentine's Day when you can go to BlueNile.com and find something you'll love? Whether you're looking to treat yourself to a little winter sparkle or show a galentine how much you appreciate them, Blue Nile offers a wide selection of high-quality designs, expert guidance, and free 30-day returns for the ultimate peace of mind. You can even design your own jewelry. Right now, save up to 50% at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
On this episode of Missing the Point, we're joined by the co-host of the Section 10 podcast, Steve Perrault. We'll talk with Steve about the 2021 Boston Red Sox, the adjustments needed to make sure this team remains a contender, why Xander Bogaerts doesn't get the respect he deserves around Major League Baseball, who the Red Sox should take with the number 4 pick in this year's draft, and some of his favorite stories from Red Sox yesteryear. This is Missing the Point, episode 59. But it's all relative.
Welcome into Missing the Point. My name's Joe Malkin. I'm here with the real BK Bob Kelly, Rayshawn Buchanan, Craig D'Alessandro, our EP, and joining us on this episode of MTP, we have the host and producer of the Section 10 podcast presented by Barstool Sports with Jared Carabas and Coley Mick. He's a senior programmer for the Bleacher Report app for the last 5.5 years. That's a long time to work for Bleacher Report. And he's the host of the Live BP show on WEEI every Saturday with Rob Bradford from 4 to 6 p.m. Formerly, he worked for ESPN New Hampshire, Nesson, and Comcast Sportsnet. A graduate of Endicott College in Beverly, Massachusetts, Steve Perrault. Steve, how are you?
I am swell. That was an incredible intro. I don't think you could have a better. I also was great at wiffle ball, if we want to throw that in there. I don't know if that was on my resume or not, but no, that was great. I'm happy to be here. Let's do this.
I've been looking for a wiffle ball league. I keep finding all these wiffle ball leagues around on TikTok. So if you know one in the Boston area, I know you're a North Shore guy, so that's a little far away from the Worcester area.
I know. I went to college in the North Shore, but I live in the South Shore now. I'm in Hingham for the time being. But no, I mean, it's tough. Like I see, it's one of the things I'm most jealous about, if I'm being honest. When I see wiffle ball leagues, I'm like, I wish I had the time to do that. And like also like these, and I was going to say the time and the funds, I'm telling you, some of these leagues are pricey as hell just to play wiffle ball. I was like, I didn't know it was going to be like this, but yeah, I would love to get back into it. I used to play wiffle ball all the time in high school. So I don't know, maybe one of these days.
I was actually in one of those leagues, and I don't know if you guys know this, but like when you get to like a league that knows what they're doing, these kids are no joke throwing that ball. Like some of the sliders and fastballs they're throwing at you, like you don't even see them coming half the time. It's unbelievable.
It kind of takes away the fun, doesn't it? The best part of wiffle ball was that we all agreed we're not going to be gunning them in there. Like at least you can have a little zip on it, throw your curve, whatever. We're trying to have fun. I see some of these leagues, to your point, 100 miles an hour from like 20 feet away. I'm not trying to do that.
Yeah. Well, arguably, we wouldn't have had Jason Varitek if it wasn't for wiffle ball, because that's how he learned how to hit switch hit, was playing wiffle ball with his brothers as a kid. So, hey, we may not have had him catch four no-hitters for the Boston Red Sox, most all time for any catcher in the major league.
And still plays a big role with the team now. And
he does.
Him and Plawecki, I believe, got the cart thing going in the dugout. So, hey, there you go.
Always love seeing those giant binders that he had on every single hitter in the AL and probably the NL too. Guy he's a mastermind. He knows how to read hitters better than anybody. But hey, so actually, you know what? I'm gonna lead off with this question because we're gonna get into the Red Sox here. But speaking of catchers, Steve, who the hell knew that Christian Vasquez could hit?
Yeah, honestly, I think, what was it, 2017, I believe he had the second highest home batting average in baseball next to Adrian Beltre. So he's shown in the past that he can do this. He obviously started very hot this season, then he cooled off a little bit. I like how he initially was saying he felt very sexy at the plate. And then immediately when he hit the slump, he's like, I feel less sexy. I'm not as sexy right now. So basically, I kind of want every player to describe how they're feeling at the plate as sexy or not sexy. And that's it. That's the only analysis we need to get in those post-game press conferences. But no, I love Christian Vasquez. Ideally, he's here for longer. I know his contract's coming up, and he's a guy that the pitchers trust, that the team loves, and he's an energy guy too. I feel like we talk about the Red Sox a lot, obviously on Section 10, and the lack of energy heading into this season. At least they didn't have a lot of characters, a lot of personality. Christian Vasquez doesn't get enough credit for that. Like, I feel like he's one of the core guys, not just because he's been here, second longest next to Xander, but he's somebody that they actually look to bring the energy every night and bring the passion. He does it on social media too. He's pretty underrated. We don't really talk about Vasquez that much, but like, if he wasn't here, we'd say that we want a guy like that.
Right, absolutely. And you look at the energy that you just mentioned, and Christian Vasquez being one of those guys, but having Alex Cora back after an abysmal 2020 season with Ron Renneke, who I thought was going to be much better, but I think that issue went a lot deeper than Ron Renneke. But it's nice to have Alex Cora back, because I think he's bringing that out of not only every player on the team, but more so the Hispanic players on the team, and it kind of shows.
No, that's a huge aspect of it. Absolutely. You can tell that these guys love playing for him. I think that's something that I've noticed. 18, 19, obviously, we don't talk about 2019 as much. That was a forgettable year. But you can just tell that these guys feel very comfortable around him. Even last night when Moreland comes back, it's all a body language thing, right? When these guys are around Cora, they seem like it's one of their guys. It's not, to your point with Ron Renneke, it's like your grandfather's the coach of the team. Like it felt like they had nothing in common with Ron Renneke, especially if you get to the younger guys like Devers, even, still with Bogarts. I was like, what are those conversations like with those guys? But no, Cora's a huge part of this team, obviously. I think we always try to gauge the impact the manager has. And I don't know if we really know. We can always act like, because he's here, they're going to play better. And 2013 wasn't Perrault. It was the Boston Strong. We don't really know. We don't know exactly what goes on behind closed doors. But one thing that we do know from hearing the players is that they love playing for him. And that's something that you can't really swap that out, especially over the course of 162. You want a guy that you actually want to go win for. And Cora's that guy.
Yeah, the suspension of Cora came at the absolute perfect time during a COVID-shortened season, and that definitely helped on the comeback trail as well. So speaking of the leadership and this team playing as well as they are, and guys seemingly having more fun, the Red Sox sitting number 1 in the power rankings. Do you believe they're the best team in baseball right now?
Yeah, I had this conversation with Rob Bradford on the Live BP show on EEI, and we basically brought up, because he keeps bringing it. I think Rob keeps bringing the question up because he wants me just to address it. He's like, are they the best team? Like, answer this question. Because deep down, I don't think any of us really believe they're the best roster in baseball. I think that would be a little bit insane. I mean, the starting rotation for the most part has done their job. They're not going deep into games, which sucks. But that exposes their biggest weakness, the bullpen, especially getting to Matt Barnes is a problem right now. It's been a problem all season long, and it's going to continue to be a problem. So when that's the case, it's hard for me to sit here and say they're the best team in baseball. If they had more bullpen arms I relied on and that Cora relied on, then maybe. But the Dodgers are inevitably going to come back into the top of the standings overall in baseball. Cody Bellinger's coming back. Losing Dustin May is big. That hurts them a lot. Mookie Betts is obviously going to turn it on. I fully expect that. I mean, that lineup's loaded. That's a powerhouse American League lineup in the National League. And there's no way, especially with their rotation, even losing May, that they're going to be a team that's, not second or third best in Major League Baseball when it's all said and done. So Red Sox right now are the best. I just don't think long-term. I'd be stunned. I'd be genuinely stunned if they, at the end of the year, had the best record in baseball.
You bring up the Dodgers, who have arguably the best rotation in baseball. And they not only that, they have some of the best pitching prospects in baseball. So how come Chaim Bloom didn't get an arm from LA this offseason? Like,
he should have.
Right? Exactly. Like, why?
But we never know. We never know what's going on with these deals, though. I mean, why didn't Chaim Bloom get every free agent in the market? This guy sucks. Like, I feel like we never really know, what the dealings are, what teams want them to give up. Obviously, the Red Sox don't have the luxury of, hey, we'll give you these prospects for that guy. We don't have those prospects. I mean, yes, he's building up the farm system, so to speak. But you look at watching the Woo Sox, and even Tristan Casas had a bomb tonight. There's not a ton of guys in the farm that are realistically going to make an impact very soon. Jarren Duran's obviously the big name. Tanner Houck, it sucks that he had a setback. But realistically, there's not a lot of guys that I think are going to come up and make a huge impact in the near future. outside of Duran and who knows with Houck. So it's hard to really gauge like what Heim should or shouldn't have done. But at least now you need more guys in the bullpen. This bullpen's not going to do anything significant once you get to September, October. I was about to say November. Who knows how long the season goes? But you just don't know. You don't know, how this team is going to get to that point with this bullpen. He knows that's not going to work. So obviously they're going to have to get more guys, and that's what's going to matter, moving forward here.
Sticking with that, right? 'Cause I think it's your Instagram page that shared it earlier. But do you believe that Craig Kimbrel is someone that could come back? Like I hope not, honestly. But I mean, I just like my heart. You see, I'm a big. You can't tell, but I'm a big guy, Steve. Like I can't. My heart cannot take Craig Kimbrel coming.
We don't need Mr. Heart Attack back here, man. We don't need it.
I can't do it.
I know the second. So Jared had mentioned that on Section 10, and I was like, a lot of people are not gonna like this, but no, Kimbrel's been dealing. I think he gave up one hit in April. Last time I checked, that's really good. And he gave up a bomb. I think that's about it. He has like a 0.8 ERA. So obviously, I think from his perspective and the Cubs' perspective, I think they're going to want to part ways because I don't see the Cubs long-term competing this year. They have a lot of contracts they're going to try to dump. Kimbrel would be one of them. They overpaid for him as is. Right. I mean, he didn't have a lot of competition. All of a sudden, Theo was like, let's pay this man the bag. Like, I don't know why they did that. They probably could have got him for cheaper, but I don't know. I don't really see Heim making that move and bringing on that salary when you could probably get guys that are similarly effective for way cheaper.
I was just going to say, does Barnes struggle? Like, Barnes not struggling enough for you to give up that much to go get him, right? Like, it wouldn't be that much of an upgrade from Barnes to Kimbrel the way they're pitching at the moment. I mean, Barnes has been pretty good so far this year.
He's been really good. I mean, you could make the argument Barnes is the best closer in baseball, which is insane. I mean, I was always...
Words I never thought. Yeah,
I know. I've always been ripping Matty backpacks, and all of a sudden it's like now he's the best closer in baseball, and I can't really say anything about it. Like, I know Chapman's been really good. You go down the line, there's other guys that are performing well, but he knows it too, which is good. Like, I'm glad that he's carrying himself like I'm the guy, because like there's such a difference between being the closer, like because you were placed in that role, and actually being a closer. And Barnes is proving that he's a closer, which is blowing my mind. I always thought it was just going to be that he was named the guy, but you never felt good when he came out of there and out of the bullpen in save situations. But yeah, he has a 0 ERA when in save situations. So you can't really get much better than that. And to that point too, why would the Red Sox go out of their way to give up pieces they probably don't think they need to give up for a closer when they have a closer? Now, if you really want to go all in and say Kimbrel's your 8th inning guy, because right now Ottavino cannot be the 8th inning guy. My God, he's an absolute mess. He walks guys all over the place. Same with Darwinzon. Darwinzon can't find the plate. So maybe if they wanted to go like all in and have Kimbrel as the 8th inning guy, how bizarre would that be, by the way, that your former closer comes back as the 8th inning guy when he has an 0.7 ERA? But hey, I don't see it happening. But yeah, I know. I was going to say, whatever gets the job done, they're going to have to add pieces of the bullpen. I just don't think it's going to be Kimbrel.
Your former World Series winning closer, too.
I know. Even though that, my God, that postseason. And like everybody knows
the Yankees game was the one. That was the scariest game of my entire life. That was up there, man.
I snuck into Yankee Stadium for that. I should have just got tickets, but like I was hanging with my buddies and I was like, all right, the Red Sox are about to beat the Yankees in the playoffs. I have to go to this. I was like 20 minutes away. I'm like, let's do it. Uber to Yankee Stadium, get in there. I'm just peeing my pants. This guy is just the worst. Like, he's given up. Gary Sanchez almost had a home run. That thing barely missed going out. I don't know if it was Judge. Somebody else went to the warning track. I was like, end this game. And then the ending was crap.
It was Giancarlo that gave them that game. I don't know if you remember, but Kimbrel couldn't find the plate. And Giancarlo swung at 2 sliders that weren't even close. And it's like, if I was his head coach, I'd be sitting there in the dugout like, bro, that bat's not leaving your shoulder. Like, I don't care.
I don't think Boone had the balls to tell him that.
Well, yeah.
I know.
But...
No, it was the Bregman game. It was game 4 against Houston that year. That's the game that got me.
Oh
with
my
Kimbrel.
God!
And I was like, Bregman was up. I was like, oh my God! Like, I was like, please, like, I just knew that Bregman was gonna hit a grand slam, and I was gonna be yelling F-bombs in my house for the rest of the night.
It was a guarantee that he was gonna make good contact. There was no way Bregman was like striking out there, and Bregman did himself no favors, by the way. He had that IG video or the IG story, whatever, that he posted when they went back to Houston of him like rocking Evaldi or whoever it was. Yeah, and they obviously the Sox saw that, and that's all you needed to see. And the series ends in Houston. But yeah, that Benny catch was incredible. And now I wish Benny was still here.
Did you say you snuck into Yankee Stadium?
Yeah, it was a hell of a process. And I just I like the sound of it too. It's like I snuck in to see the Red Sox beat the Yankees in the playoffs. It sounded cool, but no,
even more of a middle finger. It's like
I know, seriously,
to the Yankees.
yeah. And I was all undercover. I didn't have Sox stuff on or anything, so it looked like I could have been like on the staff or something there at Yankee Stadium. But no, it was because basically it was incredible, right? Because so many people are leaving dejected, Yankee fans, because the Red Sox are about to knock them out of the playoffs, and so naturally they have the gates open. But they still have security people that are kind of like, they're in the mode of like, we're 3 outs away from I can go home and not have to worry about this stupid team anymore because they have to work all year, obviously. And so I just kind of slid in, found my way in. The first try was a failure. I bumped into this kid that couldn't be any older than 4 years old, and his dad was ready to kill me. He was just like, "You want to go, buddy? You want to go?" I'm like, "Sir, there is no way I want to fight. That's literally the last thing I want to do. I'm trying to get in to see my team win this series. There's no way."
I also didn't run over your 4-year-old on purpose.
I know. It's because they had a flood of people coming out, and all of a sudden I'm like, I was trying to be sneaky, and then I went right into this kid. But no, find a way to get in there, and then the Kimbrel inning happened, and it was the ending of that game was so weird, right? Because they have the ground out to what's his face, Nunez. He falls over when he throws it, and they barely got him out. They had to check the replay, but whatever. They got out of Yankee Stadium with the win. That's all that matters.
And you got into Yankee Stadium to see the win, so that's perfect.
Exactly. It's a win-win.
So we talk about the bullpen, this year's bullpen, and on Section 10, episode 391 that came out on Tuesday, you guys mentioned Danny Santana, Chris Sale, who's throwing off a mound now. Do you think Chris Sale comes back and is effective in 2021?
My gut says no. And yeah. I've thought that since the season started. The thing that I hate are the updates where it's like, he's throwing from 60 feet. He's throwing from, I don't care. Let me know when he's actually going to pitch real games for the Red Sox, or might be on the path to it being, let's say, 2 to 3 weeks away. Until that happens, I really don't care. And it's the same with Brazier, too. You're pitching off a mound, the simulated batters when a guy literally just stands there and doesn't do anything. That really gets you ready for the big leagues if you're just facing mannequins. So I don't know. Let
Ricky
me know.
Bond couldn't do it.
Oh, you took the words out of my mouth, man. Right out of my mouth.
That is true. Hey, that is true. But seriously,
but he figured it out.
He figured it out. And I'm hoping that Sale actually comes back and contributes. Now, if the Red Sox, keep this pace up, and, they're ready to win the AL East and potentially compete in American League playoffs for a spot in the World Series, then yes, I would assume they would make sure that Chris Sale is a part of it. But as of now, anything I've heard, and I'll talk to some of the reporters and people that actually know what's going on, and I'm hearing that it's nothing before August 1st. So people are saying, oh, it might be, it's not July. It might happen in August. My gut tells me September. So we'll see what actually goes down.
And staying on the bullpen and the starting rotation, if you had to personally drive one pitcher to the airport and put him on a plane, who would it be, and why is it Austin Brice?
I was going to say, I hope you close with Brice. Please wrap this with Austin Brice. My God, is he trash. I know Josh awful. Taylor's giving him a run for his money. Josh Taylor comes in there and he's got the shoulders slumping. He's just hanging his head. And it's like, dude, you can't suck and also have the worst body language on the planet. At least come in and make me think you're going to have a good outing. That's what sucks.
Especially when you're on a good baseball team.
The best team in the league. It's what are we doing? The
only pitcher I've ever seen that had just as bad body language, and my dad told me about him growing up, and I watched all these videos, Bob Stanley. Bob Stanley for back in the day. Yeah. Same type thing where it was just as soon as he walked out on the mound, you're like, dude, he's about to fuck this up. I know what's about to happen, and there's no doubt.
We've watched enough baseball in our lives. We know when pitchers are about to just absolutely blow.
They give you the signs, right? You can tell before it happens that it's about to be a nightmare. You don't need the bases to be loaded. It could be nobody on, and you're like, this is about to be awful. Josh Taylor the other day, I think he faced 4 batters. He was behind in the count on all of them, walked 2 of them, and luckily got a double play and a strikeout. And he's terrible. He's obviously not built for this level, and that's with it being a subpar bullpen. So he's really showing himself amongst a non-impressive bullpen. He's showing that he's even worse than a subpar bullpen. So I would say it's Austin Brice, but Josh Taylor's really close to Austin Brice.
What's good about at least the starting rotation, especially I look at Garrett Richards, who kind of figured it out in his last start. These guys have all been able to put in quality starts recently. They're going 6-7 innings, which is great because if the offense is on like they have been, at least the bullpen then doesn't have to do much before we get to Matt Barnes, who is clearly the best pitcher in the bullpen for the Boston Red Sox right now. We're still only in May. But if you're sitting in the GM seat, where are you looking to improve this team going forward? If there is an area to improve, I mean, we know the bullpen is, but what area would you improve?
I think Heim is targeting the bullpen. I'd be stunned if he's not trying to add pieces that could realistically put them in a solid position to get to Barnes, because I know the rotation has been good. I think recently there's times where we go off of like a 5 or 6 start span and we're like, rotation's been really good. I'm like, it's been good. It's been good. These guys, we don't expect them to do a ton, and they go. I think it was the most starter innings in baseball, which is kind of stunning. It's because none of them really get crushed early. They're not, we haven't had any starts where the guy only, gets taken out like, what's his face, Lucas Giolito on Patriots Day. He went like, whatever, he got 3 outs. So they haven't had a start yet where somebody gets absolutely destroyed in the first couple of innings. Martin Perez, I know we talk about Perez Day all the time. I'm going to need Martin to go a little deeper in the games. He hasn't gone through 6 yet. So yeah, Richards has figured it out to a certain degree, at least as much as I think he's going to figure it out. And to that point, I just think they're going to need guys, they're going to need more bullpen arms. They're going to need to get to Matt Barnes and have Alex Cora be comfortable with the guys he's bringing in. Because you see in the post-game presser, he'll go out of his way to be like, oh, Sourmore, like anytime a reliever has a decent outing, he'll be like, he was really good tonight, because he's trying to get their confidence up, which I don't even blame him for. It's like these guys have to have very low confidence considering everyone's talking about them right now as the weak point of the team, which they are. So it's got to be the bullpen if you're Heim. And then hopefully Tanner Houck is healthy, man. Because like if that's a serious issue and he, even when he comes back, if he's getting rocked in Worcester, like that's trouble because you don't have a lot of depth of the rotation.
Would you think even more it's the bullpen too? Because I mean, in my opinion, the Red Sox in their starting rotation, they have a bunch of solid threes. They have a bunch of middle of the rotation guys that you know what you're going to get 5 to 6, 2 runs every single time. But like you said, there's no bridge. There absolutely isn't. And what blows my mind, I don't know if maybe you think it's a pitching coach problem, is every issue, it seems, is control. Whenever the Red Sox lose their way when they're on the mound, it's because they're walking 2-3 guys in an inning. So what do you think is contributing to that?
It's, my God, Ottavino. I don't know what it was. Recently, I had checked out like how many times he lets the first guy get on base. And I think it was like 8 out of 12 appearance. Like it was terrible. And he did it again. And so it's like, you can't be the 8th inning guy and essentially start the inning like it's almost like extra inning rules. Like, all right, you're going to have a guy on first base because I'm either going to hit him or I'm going to walk him. And now he's always trying to hold like a 1 or 2 run lead. You don't see Ottavino in blowouts. So obviously Cora wants to use him in tight situations, and you just can't trust him if he's going to keep putting guys on. So Darwinzon was, that was rough to watch. And you could tell too, he's doing this is one of my least favorite things that pitchers do when they like give you the ump, like the extra 5-second look when it's like, dude, that was half a foot off the plate. That was not a strike. This is you. You're the reason why guys are being walked. It's not because you're getting squeezed. So he has to figure that out. Cora's also got to tell him to stop doing that because he's done it way too often and he has the least control of anybody on the staff or in the bullpen. So yeah, the bullpen's a problem and hopefully they address it because this bullpen is not going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, the last part on that for me, see, I don't know. To me, I look at Sawamura and I feel like he's the guy that should be that guy that can be that 8th inning guy. To me, I look at his stuff and I think that, man, like he reminds me a little bit of Koji, but what he throws harder. I mean, obviously we're in the same number as well. So I do think he's someone that could be really good later on. I don't remember Koji being great all year, but I just remember him being dominant. Koji. Yeah, same here. I just remember him getting there and I'm like, man, by the time we got to the playoffs, he was lights out. So
and Koji could pitch so much. Koji did not wear down. He had a rubber arm. So we'll see if Sawamura wears down. The splitter is filthy. He can touch 97, which is awesome. Obviously throws harder than Koji does. Koji was like 50 years old when he was the Red Sox closer. But no, I know it was insane. I looked at his baseball reference. I'm like, he was 39.
His whip that year was like unspeakable. I think it was like 0.4 or something. Like, he was unbelievable. So.
And especially considering he was the third option for closer that year. But yeah, I think Sawamura, if you were to ask Cora, who's the guy realistically that you trust the most in the bullpen that's not Matt Barnes, he would probably say that it's Sawamura. I mean, I don't count Whitlock because he's in his own little, the Whitlock situation is very interesting because every 3 or 4 days is kind of killing me when you have this weapon. Yes, he had a couple bumps in the road there, but for the most part, he's been incredible this year. It's funny though, when I talk about the bullpen, I don't even count Garrett Whitlock because he's in his own little, he's not a starter. He's not really a bullpen. He's like a bullpen starter.
And you also can't do anything with him because he's a Rule 5 guy. So if they send him down because he's had a few bad days, he just goes back to New York. So you got to keep him up here and just let him work through it.
You are kind of cornered. And even to that point, that's, would lend itself to why Cora is spreading him out more. You want to make sure you're not risking injury and overusing him, but it's still tough. I mean, he has a 1.56 ERA and he's so reliable. The changeup is incredible. And he looks like he's going to throw gas every time. That's the thing. Like, he has a great changeup, but he also has a great changeup in terms of his body language. Like, it looks like he's about to hum it at you, and then that thing dies, making guys look. He probably makes batters look as silly as anybody on the Red Sox, which is saying a lot considering he's a Rule 5 guy. But yeah, outside of Whitlock, I think it's Sawamura is the guy that Cora would trust the most. That's not Matt Barnes. And he also just doesn't seem like rattled by the moment. He goes out there, he's like, yeah, whatever. Like, I've pitched for a while.
Yeah, that's what you need.
That's what you need. Yeah, so especially in the 8th inning, Ottavino's out there. I'm looking at him. I'm like, I don't think he's going to get the job done here.
Yankees were like, yeah, you want him? Yeah, you can take him. You can take him.
He is your problem. It's like, oh, he's a Northeastern guy. Who cares?
Like, yeah, I think he'd be good in the 8th inning for you guys.
It did backfire at first. He was pitching well at first, and I was like, wow, like I can't believe they just gave him to it, but it let me know that New York didn't think we were going to be this good. And then obviously now we started to revert back to what he was towards the end of his time in New York. But like early on, I was like, okay, like maybe we might have something here with him. But hopefully he gets back to what he was at the beginning of the year going forward.
Yeah, between his slider and Whitlock's changeup, I think those are the two best pitches the Red Sox have. Easily, that slider, if he can spot that slider, it looks like it's going to hit you and then it's a strike, but he can't. That's the thing. He'll occasionally spot it, but then, half the time it's never even a strike. It's way out of the zone. It's in the dirt. Vasquez is looking at him like, what are we doing here? So I wish, and I feel like a clown because before the season started, I kept saying like Ottavino should be the closer. And it's like, no, he definitely shouldn't considering what we've seen so far. So yeah, the bullpen continues to be an issue. Hopefully it isn't tonight, but who knows? I mean, if you ask Corey, he would say the bullpen's going to be a problem basically every night and he's going to have to figure it out.
Hey, well, we talk about being a Northeastern guy. I mean, I don't even know if everyone around here, I mean, obviously the 5 of us know that they have a baseball program, but it's not like saying he's a Vandy guy, which I have three quick topics for you. One, I'm going to start with the worst one. Francy Cordero, how do we get him out of Boston?
Oh my God, Francy.
It's unbelievable, man. He's so not to take your win, but I made this comparison earlier. He is a worse Willie Mo Pena, and that is possibly the worst person that you could be the worst person of.
I'm telling you, when the season started, everyone did the Willie Mo Pena thing. And yeah, I wish it was Willie Mo Pena. Like, I'd be pumped if he actually hit bombs. Like, that's the thing that sucks. If you told me that Franchi was going to come in and whatever his career average was probably in like the 240s or 230s. If you told me he was going to hit like 225, blast bombs all season and play a decent left, I'd be like, okay, that's fine, because Benny's no guarantee. I still think he's got the revenge summer coming up here, and I think he's really going to be a huge part of the Royals team that's fading fast right now. But yeah, Franchi's just been a mess, man. His body language is terrible. You expect him to strike out every time he's up there. The amount of people in my mentions when he had that 3-for-5 game, like that meant anything. Like, I bet you wish you didn't say that negative stuff about Franchi. It's like, no, I don't I don't take that back at all. He sucks. He's won for his last 52, I think. Unbelievable. He's won for his last 52 if you take the Kike game out, and a game that he didn't even think he was going to play in, which to Lou Merloni's point, he had mentioned on the radio, I fully agree with him that, like, if you're in this kind of a slump, this is a monumental slump, by the way. If the minors started when the major league season started, obviously he would still not be getting at bats right now. But if you're in that kind of a slump and you just get thrown into a game, you don't have time to think about if you're in the lineup or not. I totally understand how that would make it easier for you to succeed, because very clearly a lot of it's mental for him. And he's not making any adjustments. That's what sucks. He's missing pitches by miles. His body language in the field is weird. He gets strange jumps on balls. Anytime he catches it, it's a snow cone, even though it's right to him. I hate Franchi. He stinks.
Well, that was how Devers was at the beginning. Not as bad. I'm not going to compare Devers to Franchi right now.
At least Devers is like, MVP caliber bat.
He made the adjustments. Like, he was making bad throws to first. He started off slow at the plate, and then he kind of figured everything out all at once. And Franchi he just isn't going to figure it out.
It's not going to. He looks like a guy, and there are people that slump that figure it out. He looks like a guy that it's just not going to work. I think this is a hell of a move by Dayton Moore in Kansas City and obviously we don't know who the players to be named. Everyone loves bringing that up, but they could be crap too. So
I mean, one for 52 is monumental. That is a slump I've never even heard of.
Like, I could do that right now.
I'm telling you.
It's unbelievable.
A lot of time people are like, "Oh, I could do that." We could all do that.
And
if we bunted every time, we're getting on base.
Exactly.
I could run into a hit once.
It's almost like they try to sell to us that he was going to be like an Adam Dunn type guy.
Yeah.
And it's just like, bro, like Adam Dunn, at least like I said, was going to hit 40 home runs and hit it to the river, it's not Riverfront Stadium anymore. That's getting old saying Riverfront Stadium, but whatever it's called over there in Cincinnati now.
Great American ballpark.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Three River, whatever it's called. But yeah, so yeah, man, it's like, even if he was that just half the time, but it's like, he's not, man. So, I mean, like I said, Benny wasn't better by the time he left here. Like, I know we still hold on to 2018 and we hold on to the catch that he made in Tampa Bay his rookie year. Like, I get it, right? You know, hold on to the catch that he made in Houston, but it's just like, yo, like, I mean, it was the right move, but that just wasn't the right guy to bring back in return for him. That was the problem. And we all knew that without even looking at him. It's ridiculous.
The tough part is that a lot of people love, like, saying, "Oh, it's not fair to compare Franchi and Benny." Yes, it is. How is it not? You traded a left fielder for a left fielder. What else are we going to do? Like, I understand that there's the players to be named later. I get it. I understand all of that. And we still don't know, what the full return is going to be. But it's May, and the only guys playing are the left fielder you traded and the left fielder you got. Of course, we're going to compare their stats. Like, what? That would be stupid not to. So,
and usually the players to be named later are like three guys doing a podcast, and they just happen to like run them into Kansas City and throw them in a uniform somewhere in the minor leagues.
Yeah.
Are you upset anymore about the Mookie Betts trade? Speaking of trades?
Yeah, there's always going to be pain there. I think in terms of Section 10, Coley will find a way to bring it up every podcast. And even when we're not talking about it at all, we could be talking about like a hot Fenway Franks or like the best food at Fenway's. Like, they really traded Mookie, didn't they? I'm like, Coley, damn it. Because, at a certain point, and we had Haim on, and he was really good. I think he gave us a lot of great answers. He was accountable. We got to talk to him like off the record, which is always a dandy. And he was really, he's like, we had to make the move. Like, in his eyes, they had to make the move. And I love when people rip him as if he didn't know that he was going to get ripped for that. Like, everyone's like, I know it's maybe not fully his call, but like, what a move to trade, a style like Mookie Betts. It's like, he knew everything. He knows more than we know about the behind the scenes stuff. And so, yet we love acting like we know they should have done this, that, the other thing. Like, Haim came into this situation. I don't want to say his hand was forced because technically everything is his decision, but the trade is what it is. It's something that I'm always going to try to have to defend just because I like the Boston Red Sox, but like, it does suck every time I'm up at whatever it is, midnight, and Mookie goes deep again. Granted, right now it doesn't hurt his back because he's hitting 260 and the Dodgers are slumping, but come this summer, when he has another 3-homer game and a couple steals and he robs a homer, it'll sting forever.
Mookie is Mookie, and he always goes on those hot streaks. He did it in Boston, too. Yeah, he did it in Boston, too.
Steve, isn't it the best, though, now that we're past 2020 and you can lay in bed at 11:30 at night and you can throw on the MLB Network regional coverage and you can watch all these West Coast teams again? It's kind of awesome. I actually probably watch more West Coast baseball than I watch Red Sox baseball at this point.
Absolutely. I'm telling you, I'm paying more attention to MLB Network this year than I ever have. Like, I want to be more educated on all the teams. We spend so much time with the AL East that, like, you forget that there's 25 other teams outside of the AL East. So, I mean, obviously the American League, you keep an eye on who's competing with the Sox for a potential wild card spot, even though that was my childhood. How funny is it, by the way, that this wild card game's been around for 8 years and the Red Sox haven't played in it? That's kind of insane. I mean, I keep saying they're due to be in the game, but like, I don't want them to be in the game. So hopefully it doesn't happen. But even though this year you could argue that it might, but yeah, I just think it's great to have, fans back at the park. It's great to have 25% at Fenway. Allegedly, it's going to be 100% by August 1st. We'll see if that actually happens, but it's been nice to be at Fenway. But in all honesty, it has felt very awkward. Like, I've only been there so far, when it's 12% capacity, and it's a heckler's, dream, because they get all their stupid trash that they're like, if you're going to be a heckler, at least like go into it with a plan. That's my issue. A lot of times guys will start yelling and they realize, oh, I really do have everyone's attention. I have no idea what I'm going to say right now. So they just like ramble off some nonsense and then just shut up. But yeah, it's been interesting at Fenway, to say the least.
The first one's good, but yeah, that atmosphere, it's kind of, I equate it to a rain delay. and then everybody leaves and they start back up at 10:30 at night, and that, you know, the guys that are drunk and have nowhere to go stay in the ballpark and watch the last 3 innings.
Yeah, all of April was rain delay with the drunk guys. That's what it was. Yeah.
I think we should start a new podcast and call it Rain Delay with the Drunk Guys.
Rain Delay with the drunk guys.
That sounds like my kind of game, right?
Yeah, it's your kind of podcast. You're about to be.
That actually has some sizzle to it. I would listen to Rain Delay with the Drunk Guys.
All right, done, guys. We're changing the name again. We're gonna get Steve Perrault paying attention. Hey, Steve,
I can't go through that again.
You can't go through a name change again. Yeah,
it was too long the first time.
We're on the air for 9 months and we've changed our name already, but that's another story for another time. So Steve, looking at the MLB draft, speaking of pitchers, right now, the MLB draft, which is coming up, it is in June this year again, right?
I believe it's a month away. Yeah.
So we're looking at 2 very good pitchers out of Vanderbilt, which is pretty typical for Vanderbilt. They always get those really good arms in Jack Leiter, Al Leiter's son, and then Kumar Rocker. And then the top 4 picks in the draft, which the Red Sox sit at 4. Jordan Lawler is projected to go 1 to the Pirates. Marcelo Mayer, shortstop out of Eastlake High School in California, is projected to go 3 to the Tigers. Leiter 2 to the Rangers. And then the Red Sox are projected to get Kumar Rocker at number 4. And granted, when we talk about the MLB draft, it's nothing like any of the other drafts, right? It's the closest one you could equate it to is the NHL, because guys kind of sit down in Providence for a little while. But in terms of this, I mean, if you bring in a guy like Rocker, does that change your minor league system that much for the Boston Red Sox, at least in terms of pitching?
I mean, it should. I think there's times where we forget when these drafts happen and we get all hyped about the guy that it takes a while for them to get up here. Like, we had Tristan Casas on Section 10 in 2018. And I remember he had just been drafted the day before. We thought we were getting punked because he immediately was just like the cockiest dude on the planet. He was like, I can't wait to go to Yankee Stadium and shut everybody up. I was like, what the hell? The kid's like 17 or 18 years old. I'm like, pump the brakes, chief. Like, this is we literally had to like double check to make sure we weren't getting like pranked on the show. So I mean, there's been a lot of Kumar Rocker talk, obviously Jack Leiter. Those 2 names made last year worth it. I guess. I mean, it still wasn't worth it because watching all those games was a pain in the ass. I don't love that everybody has the Red Sox getting Kumar Rocker. I would like if some of them had him at 3, some had him at 5. It's like just to mix it up a little bit, because I feel like anytime everybody projects you to get somebody, as long as you're not the 1 pick, I mean, the Jaguars is a whole different story with Lawrence, but like as long as you're not the obvious number 1, I don't love when all the projections say you're going to get the guy. So Hopefully some people start saying the Red Sox won't get Kumar Rocker, because I've actually watched a lot of his starts. Very dominant pitcher, has the presence that seems like he could actually fit in to a major league roster sooner rather than later. So ideally they do draft him, but again, I want some more mock drafts to not have him going to the Red Sox. We'll see if that happens.
Plus he has the best name possible for Boston. Kumar Rocker. Kumar Rocker guy. Come on. Yeah. Kumar Rocker's on the hill tonight.
Yeah, it's a new Noma. Yeah, Kumar Rocker.
I need that just for that. Like he could be like John Burkett from like 03, and I'd be okay with it. He could go 12-9, but because he's on the team, like Kumar's on the mind, I'm here for it, you know. And I can see the shirts right now.
I have not heard the name John Burkett in a long time. I liked him though. I thought he was, for what he was, I thought he was good for what you expect of John Burkett.
Right, yeah.
I never knew if it was Burkett or Burkett. I don't know. I took a guess.
It depends on what Joe Buck wanted to say that night.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on in Boston too. You know, we just pronounce wrongs and get names wrong all the time. Anyway.
Like intentionally. It's like, whatever. You got to earn us pronouncing your name right, please.
Is that the worst part about sports being back in Boston, is hearing all the terrible pronunciations of names on the 2 sports radio stations here in Boston?
It's tough. It's tough. I'm glad I'm on EEI now, so because I don't think I messed the names up. But one thing I realized, which I'm very upset no one told me, I've been saying Eovaldi for like 3 years now, and no one said a damn thing until Rob was like, you know what? It's Evaldi. It's not Eovaldi. I'm like, dude, I've been doing shows with you for 3 years. Like, I've been doing, Section 10 since 2015. No one mentioned this. Why is no one saying this? Like, I felt like I had something in my teeth for 3 years and no one said anything. Like,
maybe everybody thought that you were saying it right and they were starting to question the way they were saying it.
Well, that's a good point, because I think TC says Eovaldi.
I think he does.
Yeah.
TC's allowed to do that, though. He's one of those guys where, like, no one's ever going to correct.
Are you saying
Karen's
Steve's not?
No. Oh, shit.
Yeah, what are you saying? How? What are you saying?
That's not what I meant. You got him on the show the first time, and you're going to do that to us?
No, TC's an OG. TC's an OG.
Yeah,
It's like Tommy Heinsohn, bro. He can say whatever he wants.
When we had TC on Section 10, I felt like, okay, we got, like, we needed him on the show. We got him on the show. We got to do it actually in Section 10, which is really cool. TC is the best. He also understands, like, how to evolve. More people in this field, especially some of these reporters, holy hell, need to realize that they can't just keep doing the same, like, all right, question, answer to Cora, type up my thing, and I'm done. You have to engage with the people that pay attention to your stuff, and TC does a great job of that.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he's been phenomenal. So speaking of TC being an OG, how the game has changed in the last 20 years, because we talk about all these new stats, these new metrics. The WAR has been around for a long time, but now we're talking about launch angle and velocity and all this other crap, I guess. How much has the game changed in 20 years since the Red Sox won their first World Series in 86 years? And what do you think? I know obviously the five of us watch the game, we love it, but what can be done to the game to make it better and bring in these younger fans that are behind us and really don't pay attention?
I was so ready to be a smartass and be like, WAR has been around for a while, let me tell you.
That's why I threw it in, because I kind of saw you get the side eye, like, what is this guy
I don't know why
about?
my brain processed that as like, we've been at wars for like so long. But no, I love WAR. Initially, here's the thing. With a lot of these stats, initially you're like, who's this guy that just walked in? Who is this guy? Who let this guy in? I don't know who this guy is in my bar. And then once you realize what the stat really means, how significant it is, how accurate it is at depicting the best players in the game, then you're okay with it. So WAR can stay. I love going by OPS if we're trying to talk offensive guys. But overall, I mean, I don't like getting too much into the, I call it the four-port zorp. Like, I feel like when we go too far down the road of like his, OA, CA, percentage, fielding, hitting percent, it's like we're doing too much. Also, I just don't know all these stats. Like, that's another thing. I don't want to get shown up by a little Billy that's like 13. And he's like, have you looked at his like FP? I'm like, I haven't, Billy. And you're showing me up. And I don't like that you're doing that. Because with Xander, I got in all these arguments about Xander Bogaerts over the weekend. Sometimes it's like, am I going to go with the trolls this weekend? It's like, all right, let's actually do this. And everybody that goes at Xander's fielding, I think, takes it a little too far. And then sure enough, he's looked terrible in the field the last 3 games. I'm like, you could not have picked a worse time to decide to be awful. That triple was not a triple. Let's be honest. That Mullins, that should have been. I was going to
bring that up. I watched that after I listened to Section 10 this week, and I was like, all right, I got to see what this is, but because I didn't see the play, I think I agree with you. I think it's an error.
That has to be. I mean, that ball's in his glove. Also, the scorers are getting so soft. Literally anything that will benefit the home team, they are giving to him. Last night, Michael Chavis he hits it right back to the pitcher, bobbles the ball, boots it all over the place, and it was a single. And I'm like, what is an error anymore if we're going to call that a single? This is a side rant, but yeah, the stats, if they're simple enough, then I'm down. If you have to have 8 letters to sum up what it means and they all have a different word, I can't do that. I think if we're talking about the style of game, it's changed a lot since 04, since we've, grown up watching the Red Sox, and, 03, 04, the teams I really think of in terms of like dominated my childhood and the reason why, we couldn't sleep. But I just think the game is different now. And I think there is a line with the whole let the kids play. Like, I look at it as let the kids play to a certain degree. Once we're doing what Amir Garrett was doing a couple weeks ago to Anthony Rizzo, who's a teddy bear, like barking at him and flexing, and Rizzo didn't do a damn thing. It's like, relax, dude. That's where I draw the line. I think Marcus Stroman's done some things over the years that I just can't stand, because he's like, what? The guys do bat flips. It's like, that doesn't mean you can curse out the dugout. Like, those aren't level. Trevor Bauer, don't get me started on Bauer. He's such a goof, man. I know he leans into it, but so there are certain guys that I think take it a little too far. But for the most part, I mean, it's just a sexy game. Tatis, Acuna, Soto, Trout isn't as sexy, but every night he's going to hit a homer, basically. And Xander Bogaerts, I think, deserves a little more credit in terms of the swagger game, too. So I do like where we're at right now, but I say let the kids play with a little asterisk on the back. Like, they can't do literally anything you want to do. You got to.
Yeah, there's got to be rules. I mean, there's what Castellanos did at the first week of the season. I even thought that was fine. I thought that was a little bit of
because we got thrown at. So it's, right. I don't have a problem with it.
Right.
If you're going to throw at him. But so the funny thing is, and this normally is what happens, is you see the you see the last thing, you don't see the first thing.
Yes.
So I thought he was just doing that out of nowhere. I'm like, relax, dude. That was a little bit much. He scores and he's like, that's right, buddy. That's right.
It's like, bro, it's the fifth inning.
I know. You're in Cincinnati. Like, let's pump the brakes a little bit. But no, once I saw they were plunking him, it's like, oh yeah, that's fair game. That's fair game. If you're gonna throw at me, then I'm gonna flex on you a little bit. That's fine.
Real quick on X. So beginning of the season, me, Ray, Craig, and Joe all went absolute apeshit when we saw these shortstop top 10 rankings everyone was ranking. And almost every single one of them left Xander out or had him like 8, 9, 10. Like he wasn't in that top 5 upper echelon as shortstops. That's like, we're not crazy for thinking that's absolute fucking blasphemy, right?
Oh, it's insane. Yeah, no, it's insane. But he's doing what he can to prove he deserves to be in the discussion. And a lot of times, this is the year around late 20s is when you really cement, like, am I going to be a guy that had a handful of good seasons and then maybe tails off? Or am I going to be one of the best at this position that you've seen this century? And I think Xander's at that point right now where I expect he's going to go towards the latter there. I expect that he's going to be, at the end of the day, the best shortstop in Red Sox history. And I'm, the biggest Nomar fan of all time, but obviously it's tough when Nomar was here for 6 years. So Xander's not necessarily going to get all the attention Tatis is going to get. Even Trevor Story, for some reason, with how bad the Rockies are, I still hear Trevor Story more than I hear Xander Bogaerts. And it's like, you can't tell me Trevor Story has more swagger than Xander Bogaerts. So that's where that argument gets a little weird, where it's like, well, Tatis gets the attention because he bat flips. Trevor Story, he's good. He's really good. But you can't tell me Trevor Story is like a flashy player because he's not. So
his name is Trevor Story and his name's Xander Bogaerts. Like, it's just in the name. Like, come on.
Trevor Story was put on the map by Nolan Arenado and DJ LeMahieu. Like, when those guys were there and he was coming up, like, those are the guys that put him on the map. So, of course, then he grows up around that, and he's a very good shortstop. You're absolutely right. But when you talk about swagger, I mean, I'm with Bobby. Xander Bogaerts sounds much sexier than Trevor Story.
Oh, and it's not even close. Also, Xander's probably the best looking dude on the team if we want to go down that route. But, also, I think he can finally be the face of the team. And with last year is you're not going to have a face of a team when you're the 4th worst team in baseball. So you don't count that. But if you look at it from an overall standpoint, he grew up under like David Ortiz's wing. Like he helped him out. And then Xander was a guy that helped out Mookie Betts and then now is helping out Rafael Devers in terms of feeling comfortable. Xander's finally the guy in the face of the Red Sox. And by default, if you're the face of the Red Sox, I mean, look over the years, you're going to get national attention. There's no way you can be the face of this team and not be on the cover of video games and have your name mentioned with some of the best in the game. So I think we talk a lot. It's funny because like we say we don't talk about Xander Bogaerts a lot, but then in doing that, we're talking about Xander Bogaerts. So it's a little bit of like a catch-22 or whatever the hell. But I think he will finally get more national attention this year. But defensive, I'm telling you, I defended him defensively and then he's booting everything. So maybe just like clean that up a little bit.
Right. So no, that makes perfect sense. But between him and JD though, like I'm a JD Martinez guy. Like, these guys know, like before the show, I was like, how are we not? We have to talk about JD. So is he the MVP? Because I'm like, this dude is absolutely raking. He's in pure 2018 form right now. Even though 2018, I felt like he was kind of slow, and then by June he went on a rampage. But like in your mind, like is it Xander or JD? Who's the MVP of the team right now, or maybe of baseball?
Yeah, we talk a lot on Section 10 about how defense doesn't matter. We just do that to benefit our own arguments because then it makes Xander look better. It makes some of these other guys look a lot better. So I think personally, Xander Bogaerts is the MVP of the team because of everything that he means on both ends. As he's the unofficial captain, he's going to be here more likely than not for the majority of his career. I think he's the guy, and production-wise, he has, I don't know if he still has the most hits in baseball. He probably doesn't because he's been tailing off. JD probably has more now. So I would go with Xander, but I think it's very tight. I think you have a fair case for JD. I mean, that was the biggest thing we talked about. If JD Martinez had a slow start, everyone would have destroyed his ass. He would have been roasted for all you didn't have, the iPad and you didn't know when the season was going to start. He had every excuse in the book. And to his credit, those excuses can actually count if you go out and have an MVP caliber season, which he has. So I don't think you can go wrong with either one. I would lead Xander a little bit, but lately JD hasn't had a slump. See, that's the thing. Xander's in a current mini slump right now. JD's been hot the whole season. So that's probably your best case there.
Right, and that's my thing. See, and I think about this was the same thing with Ortiz and Ramirez, right? Because we would always go back and like, who's better, like Big Papi or Manny? See, with me, the reason why I go JD now, see, they're walking JD to get to Xander.
Yeah.
Right. So my thing is, you're that means you're the guy. You're the guy. If they're walking, you say, hey, I got to put you on base because you might hit one into right center, or you might hit one, you might hit one over the monster, or off whoever. So to me, that's why I put JD just slightly above Xander right now. Like the perfect example I think about, it might have been last week when I can't believe they lost 3 out of 4 to that Texas Rangers team.
That's terrible.
Ian Kennedy was looking like fucking Nolan Ryan out there. It was a joke. But I felt like, okay, they walked them. They walked JD, and then they had Xander with the bases loaded. And then I was like, okay, Xander's he's gonna come through. He's gonna break through. And after he like grounded out to like the third baseman, it was just like, oh, I was like, no. Like I feel like in other years he might have gotten that hit, but like you said, he's in that slump right now. So hopefully he comes out of it. But right now, to me, I put JD just it's like maybe it's just right here, because once again, if you're walking that guy to get to Xander, that means that he's the guy that everyone fears right now.
Yeah, it's also tough you can't really walk Xander either, because then you have to face Devers. So like we had a lengthy convo about, is the core of this lineup, if you go 2 through 5, is this like the best the Red Sox have had in a long time? And I mean, there's other ones right up there with it, like 07, 08 comes to mind. Both of those lineups were filthy. 03 had probably the best overall lineup the Red Sox have had all century. But either way, you can't go wrong between Xander and JD. And I just want to, again, I'm upset just because like, I was like, okay, this weekend I'm gonna rip everybody on Twitter that's ripping Xander, and then now he's on the biggest slump of the season, and so naturally you're getting tagged left and right. Did you see this play? Did you see it? I saw the play. I watched all the games. I saw the play.
In your defense, it's the same thing with Franchi, right? Like he goes 3 for 5 one day. Like guys are expected to go into slumps. I mean, we saw it all the time. You talk about that lineup from 03. Like, we remember those lineups from 03, 04. And Kevin Millar was one of the streakiest hitters of that time for Boston, and he would have 1 for 20s, 1 for 25s. I remember he went 0 for like 22 at one point and down the stretch, and it was like, all right, well, wow, he sucks, and then he turned it around. So it's the same. I'll defend you on that Bogarts take all day.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, from now until, I always think, I was talking with my dad about this, like when can you actually take a team seriously for the long haul? Like when can you think they're actually going to make a legitimate run at a playoff spot and beyond? I say July 1st. I feel like that's when you have a good feel. He was saying August 1st. August 1st is like kind of a no-brainer to me because it's post-deadline. You only have 2 months left. That's when you really, really know. In 2018, that's probably when we knew they had a damn good shot at winning the World Series. Yeah. I'd say before that, but once they sweep the Yankees in the 4-gamer, it's like, okay, I mean, this is obviously the best team in baseball. So we'll see. Xander's going to have to heat up a little bit now that he's cooled off. JD's going to have to stay hot, which is asking a lot of him. I know it's nice that he can just focus on hitting. Cora's trying to not use him in the field, which is good because he's one of the funkiest fielders I've ever seen in my life. But just keep him at the plate. Just keep him as the DH. Absolutely. You have that luxury. Just lean into that. So hopefully the lineup stays hot. Well, specifically, hopefully the bottom of the lineup can actually pick it up a little bit. Renfroe's done his part. Marwin a little bit. Bobby's gotten a good amount of time off here. I don't know if that's just to reset him, but yeah, Franchi's going to suck. We know that. The one guarantee, Franchi's terrible. We can all agree on that.
Right. I'm thinking I might have to agree with your dad. Dad might be scarred from 2011 because remember that 2011 team from June to August, or really from May to August,
to September.
September. That was the best team in baseball. They was smacking everybody, and I was running around with Adrian Gonzalez for MVP.
There was always something off about that team, though. Great, they were amazing, but like there was always those weird, like, you know what I mean? There was those.
I mean, we say that now, though.
It's like the Celtics. It's like
we say that now, man. That team was special.
There was more off about that 2012 team, but
really everything was off about the 2012.
Speaking of that 2012 team, did everybody else see that Bobby Valentine is running for mayor of Stamford, Connecticut?
I hope he gets it. The inventor of the rap. I hope he gets Connecticut mayor. We'll see.
Yeah, right. We'll see if he can get elected down there in Stamford. I know some people from the area that will not be voting for him. But hey, so Steve, I don't know if you know, but that kid you were talking about, the 13-year-old that was throwing all the stats at you, this hypothetical kid, he was actually that 4-year-old that you ran over at Yankee Stadium.
It was the same guy.
It was just getting you back.
He somehow grew up 9 years and 3 years. I knew he was going to do it. He told me he was going to do it when he was on the ground looking at me. I'm not kidding. Like, because I picked it's one of these like pick this door or pick that door. Like what's behind this door? I picked the wrong door. It was a swarm of Yankee fans coming down, and this dad's holding on to his 4-year-old, and I just plummeled right into him. I just plowed him, and everyone's looking at me like I'm some devil. I'm like, I'm not trying to hit a 4-year-old. Obviously, I'm not trying to kick this kid. He couldn't have been any taller than like 3 feet. I'm like, I couldn't see him. But no, I ran out of there as fast as I could, and I was like, all right. At that point, I kind of thought, like, is this just not going to work? But I was like, no, this is who knows when else I'm going to see the Red Sox knock the Yankees out of the playoffs. Like, I mean, there was the longest gap in the world, right? You had from 04 to 18, they hadn't played in the playoffs. So you never know when it's going to happen again. But let's be honest, hopefully it happens this year.
Your Boston accent, man, is on point. You've had a lot of practice with that over the years. I can tell you've had a lot of practice.
He's from the North Shore, even though he doesn't have one naturally.
Yeah, naturally, it's always in there. It's got to be, if it's not in there, then you're lying if you're around these people long enough, if you're around this area long enough. So, yeah, it's definitely got to be a part of the repertoire for sure.
All right, so I had one final question for you, Steve. So, because we had Dan Shaughnessy on the show a while back, and I asked him the same question. So, you got to ask all the baseball guys there. So, if you could come up with an all-time Red Sox starting 9, who would you have on it?
An all-time Red Sox starting 9 on the spot. I like this. Pitching is obviously Pedro. I got to have first base, my guy Mo Vaughn. Second base, Pedroia. Short would be Nomar. Let's see. Third, I got to get somebody on this team. I'm going to put Devers on there. If I'm just like avoiding this team, that's a bad idea. Left field, Manny. Center field. Center field's actually a head scratch. By the way, I always go with guys I've seen. So like Ted Williams, well, he's in right, but like I'm going with guys I watch because I'm not going to be like, oh, Bobby Doerr. Like, yeah, no, I know. I'm sure he had, because like we did a draft during the quarantine of like all-time Red Sox. My dad was like, oh, Steven, you're forgetting all these guys. I'm like, Dad, they played in the 50s. I don't know. I don't even know if they had footage. But center, I'll go. Center. That's the only one I'm stumbling on because I'd have Veritek a catcher. And manager would be Francona. And then Wendell Kim's my third base coach, by the way.
Wendell Kim.
Wendell Kim was the best.
Wave him home.
R.I.P. Wendell Kim.
Wave him home.
Wave him home. Wendell.
Yes.
I put way back Wasden in the bullpen.
I love it. Let's go.
But no, center field, I'll just mess around and put Darren Lewis in center field. I love
Darren Lewis. I love it.
Darren Lewis was my guy. Yeah, we always called him hit it to the wrong guy. Darren Lewis caught the ball every time. I don't remember seeing him make an error ever. Realistically, I'd have Jacoby out there. It's so funny how Red Sox fans treat Jacoby. It's like, isn't this the perfect world where he gave you his best years and did nothing for the Yankees after? Right. But we look at him, it's like, oh God, what a bum. He signed with the Yankees. It's like, no, he made them waste endless money on a guy that did nothing for them. That's a good thing. That's like
Coco love.
But anyway, I love Jacoby.
What about right field?
Teddy Ballgame.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, yeah, again, if this was guys I watched, right field would be, it would have to be Mookie, right? If it's guys that I watched, then it would have to be Mookie Betts. But yeah, center field, I just kind of want to mess around a little bit. It was either, Jacoby, Coco. I can't do Jackie because he couldn't hit for shit. And then, Damon's.
His defense is his defense for me.
All time. All time.
It's enough for me. I'm sorry. Like that play.
Oh, it's the best center fielder glove that we've seen on the Red Sox.
Oh yeah, hands down. And I know there's people from another era that may say Freddie Lynn. I get it. Or Dwight Evans. Once again, I get it because those guys that was one of the best outfields. We've been very blessed in the city to have great outfields from each decade. Honestly,
all time outfielders.
Yeah. So it's just like that's one thing we've been very blessed in the city. But I'm like, I think I want to say he picked Dwight Evans. I'm talking about. I want to say Dan picked it, which I get. But yeah, Mookie has to be on a list. Like, I'm sorry. I think he had left Manny off there, but he was talking about like the steroid thing. But I'm like, look, man,
you can't tell me Manny Ramirez isn't one of the best hitters of all time.
Manny is, I know we talked about Pujols recently, off the air, but I said Manny's the best right-handed hitter I've ever seen. I'm sorry, like maybe I'm biased because he was here for 8 years, and I was crying like a little kid even at 17 when he got traded to the Dodgers in 2008 and went on a hell of a run to the NLCS. Like I was like but the tears are probably in my Manny shirt in my closet right now. But yeah,
dude,
man,
I'm telling you, Manny would hurt. Manny would hurt. That cut deep. Everyone had the 99 jersey. I'm like, he's our guy.
He high-fives our
guy,
face.
Right.
Right. You guys leave the games early. You suck. Like that's all I was saying to air. But no, I miss Manny, man. He was the best. And I remember the best thing that we got to talk to Kurt Schilling a couple times. And he would always praise how Manny prepared. His preparation was better than anybody. Curt Schilling in the bigs for a long time. And he saw a lot of really good players. He said Manny prepared better than anybody he had ever seen. And then a story that Manny had mentioned that I thought was so classic Manny. He said he intentionally, and early in the count, would swing and miss at a pitch to make the pitcher think that he couldn't get to it or that he wasn't going to hit it, so that when he had a 2-strike count, he would just crush that pitch. And I'm like, you got to be a next level kind of like hitting savant to like think like that. But Manny did. I feel like he benefited from people thinking he was stupid. He wasn't dumb.
For sure.
Yeah, he was very smart.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, the one play that comes to mind, or the bat that comes to mind, well, there's two, but the one I think about is the game 2, 07.
Yeah, K-Rod.
Yeah. I mean, and we know K-Rod was nasty when he got
peak of his powers.
Yeah, this is before he kind of fell off in Milwaukee. Like, he was still the guy, and man, he threw that T-sumer that didn't seam, and man, he lost it. And I was just like, at the same, it was simultaneous. I was like, let's go. Yeah, exactly. If you can see, I'm the guy with the towel. No, but
there it is.
There it is.
I've never. My favorite
awesome.
games I've ever been to, this one is actually second place. You would think this would have been I got grounded for a month for skipping school to go to that game. But nothing tops the 13 game 2 with Poppy, the grand slam awesome. Against Joaquin Benoit.
Oh,
yeah. That was awesome.
I fell off my bed. I fell off my bed. I'm sitting at the edge, and I'm like, it hits it, and you hear like, how many times can you go to the well? It's like, wow, it's unbelievable.
It felt too perfect. Like, I've never heard Fenway that loud. Like, it was the Manny one, and then it was that. But it almost was too cute, right? I'm with my buddy Mike, and I'm like, yeah, a grand slam ties it. But, like, come on. David Ortiz is going to come up and hit a grand slam first. So we're going to try. I'm like, oh, my God, this is going to go out. And then you just see, Torrey Hunter die and the bullpen cop lives on forever.
But I'm not going to lie, though, because, Torrey Hunter, obviously one of the best outfielders.
Legend.
In our generation. Yeah, for sure. Definitely should be a Hall of Famer, in my opinion. Like,
yeah.
As he's going back, I'm like, fuck, he's going to catch this. He's going to catch this. And then, but I'm just like, Ortiz had not done that well of Benoit in his career at that moment. So I was like, okay, like, we need a moment. Like, this is, as you said, this is our fucking city. This is our time.
I know.
And Ortiz, he was the guy that got there. And like I said, Victorino will close them out later on in that series. But man, that was, I'm about to go back and watch that this weekend. I'm about to go back.
Dude, it's all time. That was the best during the quarantine, was watching that run back, the 13 run, because in the postseason, they hit like less than 200, but they just had timely hit. Napoli solo bomb off of Verlander, like you mentioned, the Victorino grand slam, the Johnny Gomes home run in St. Louis. So
right.
There were not many big moments, but they had enough to win it all.
Exactly. So, Ortiz off Price. So all that.
Well, now that we've relived close to 20 years of Red Sox history, we've beaten the crap out of the bullpen of our current Boston Red Sox. Steve is the host and producer. Wow, I screwed that exit out.
Not at all.
Wow, we're getting. Hang on a second. Let's start that exit out here, Steve. Got to make that good first impression. I already did on the intro, right?
You nailed the intro.
Thank you. Yeah, that I pride myself on intros and interviews, and I don't want to say not the first one to.
He's like, Steve Perrault's a human, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. He says he's from the North Shore. I don't know.
Yeah, is he even from the States? We don't know.
It's like, and
he's from inside 128. We don't exist.
Yeah, this guy lives in Portugal or some shit.
The South Shore. I was actually there on Sunday, South Shore. Well, in Boston, but then I had to drive through Quincy, and that was hell. But anyway, so joining us tonight on MTP is Steve Perrault. He is the host and producer of the Section 10 podcast presented by Barstool Sports with Jared Carabas and Coley Mick. And you guys are sponsored by Coors Light, which we are not, but we're very envious of that because we do drink a lot of Coors Light in and around the podcast. So maybe we'll fish for one day.
Suck it down.
I'm telling you, you gotta suck one. Yeah, no, it's Coors Light's the best. Coors Light's the best. Also, Goslings. Goslings is a great sponsor. They send us a lot of rum. Dark and Stormy is my new favorite drink. Gotta confirm.
All because of Goslings.
All because of Goslings. Without that, I don't think I had ever had one. And I was like, how did I not have one of these before the age of like 28? What am I doing?
While you're drinking Dark and Stormies with Goslings and also drinking Coors Lights, do you happen to eat a lot of Stop and Shop tangerines?
I ate 5 pounds of Stop and Shop tangerines. Someone actually sent the picture. Did you see that? That was awesome. That was awesome. I was so excited because that was our wheelhouse in 2018. We would request the photo of someone in a Section 10 shirt. We'd have it the next day. And I'm trying to get back to that because, I mean, it's easier to get back to it because A, the team's really good. And B, you can go to places again, breaking news. So that definitely is great. But yeah, the one that will never be topped is 2018 when I was like, I want a guy on the Jaws ride at Universal with the shark coming out in a Section 10 shirt, had it the next day. I was like, that is nuts. You need luck there too. You also need to have been on that ride like 20 times and know exactly where to stand on the boat so that you can get the shark coming out at you. There? That was the best one.
Wait, like listening to the pod at the park? Or do you think like they heard it and they're like, shit, we got to go to Universal?
If they were there, that would make it even cooler. If it's like, oh, go right to the Jaws ride, get the photo, upload it, and then bang. Like that, I think I would prefer that more, honestly, in the long run.
Well, you guys do have a pretty good national following. It's amazing how many Red Sox fans are out there and how many people listen to you. Just looking through your Twitter, through the Section 10 podcast Twitter, it's a pretty wide range of people that pay attention to you guys, which is great because you guys do a great job. So just throwing that out there, give you a little pat on the back.
I appreciate it.
Pump your tires here towards the end.
That's what it's all about.
That's it. So Section 10 podcast, you can find it on Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. He's also on WEEI every Saturday with Rob Bradford for the live BP show, 4 to 6 p.m. And check out the Bleacher Report app because it's one of my favorite apps. So just to know that Steve is working on it means you're going to get your information. So for the real BK, Bob Kelly, Rayshawn Buchanan, Craig D'Alessandro, Steve, where can we find you on social media and everywhere else?
Yeah, just at Steve_Perrault. That is the handle, and you'll see a lot of informative tweets. Also, a lot of ballpark kicks. I've been retweeting that a lot lately. I love when people send those pictures in. So yeah, hopefully it looks like the Sox are down 4-1. Not great, but hopefully they find a rhythm here and win the AL East. That's what we're hoping to do.
They got a 2-game lead right now, so hopefully they can extend that down the stretch. They're only 6 ahead of the Orioles. That's not enough.
Yeah, that needs to be like it was in 2018, 60.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, you got to get that to 60.
Well, they're on the Trey Mancini tour now that he's back playing too.
I know.
Which is a great story, but it's we got to.
I want him to crush other teams, not the Red Sox.
Right, exactly, and then lose to everyone else in the division. Then
exactly.
Well, Steve, thank you very much for joining us here on Missing the Point. We appreciate you coming in and talking baseball with us. And everybody, go listen to Section 10 podcast, 2 episodes a week. And follow that Steve and Section 10 on Twitter and Instagram. And Steve, we'll talk to you soon.
Hey there, fabulous souls. I'm Stephanie Baklaan.
And I'm Eden Alpert.
And we're the hosts of the brand new podcast, Unapologetically Fab.
Get ready to join us on an amazing and real journey as we dive into life after 40 and own it.
We're all about changing the narrative, leaning into who you are, and living a life by your own design.
Join us as we embrace life unapologetically and redefine success.
This is Unapologetically Fab,
an Electric Cast production.
See you there.
Electricast.
Welcome to Ringside with Ray and Prince. My name is Ray Leonard Jr.
Oh, is that the set? No, that's just my dad.
My name is Prince Daniels Jr.
Daniels again with a big home touchdown.
On this show, we come to humanize
athletes, entertainers, business executives. We're going to see what makes them tick.
Tuesdays, 10 a.m. Pacific time on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and wherever you get your podcasts.
We'll see you there. Peace and power.
Electricast. Electricast.